What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Toffee Blues USA, your source for all things Everton, American style, right? It's just like normal Toffee Blues, except it's got the special sauce. That's it, and without the cool accents. I'm Gerry, coming to you from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, as I tend to. If I ever come to you from a different location, things will have changed drastically in my fortunes. So joining me today for his first time here from the Cleveland Evertonians, we have Jake Altman joining us. Jake, how are you doing, man?
Great. How are you?
You know, it's been a good day. Today's not been too bad. Not a whole lot of complaints, man. Thank you for asking. So Jake, Cleveland Evertonians at, I guess maybe you could say at Cleverton. If you're going to do it all phonetically. So talk to us about the Cleveland Evertonians. It seems like with pandemic and everything, y'all are doing a lot of Zoom type meetings. Do you, when the pandemic's not on, do y'all still have a home spot where y'all meet up?
So what's kind of funny is that the pandemic has really been one of the drivers of putting the club together. We were on the cusp, just in February or so, on the cusp of trying to find a new home and getting people together, and then just as we were starting to get momentum, everything kind of shut down up here and everywhere else, and so we really tried to focus on using that time to build up the group, to find everybody in the area that we know. I think we all know that a core group of Evertonians in your area, but there's always more, and I think that's what we found. Is that when we started fishing through Twitter pages, or people who tweeted about Everton who said they were in Northeast Ohio, just kind of fishing through, DMing them, asking them if they'd like to be a part of what we're doing, and so really we don't have a home bar or anything just yet, because we haven't started really putting this together until after the pandemic started. So that's kind of where we are now. We've recently finished our affiliation with the club, and so that's been good. And we got ourselves some scarves, and that was really fun. That was a fun process to get those designed and get them ordered, and we're in the process of getting them distributed now. We're able to raise a little bit of money for our local food bank and also for Everton in the community. So yeah, it's been great.
I didn't realize you were that early in the process. That's so awesome. Holy crap. So talk to me a little bit about getting a supporters group started, because you're talking about individually DMing folks, and I've never started a group like that before. So, and I'm sure there's other people who have not as well. So, can you talk to me a little bit about that process, because it seems, just from that little bit, seems like work.
Yeah, there's a little bit of work to it. I think the first thing that we did was we tried to get active on social media. So following the people that we knew. Making a social media page that appeared professional. We have to give a shout out to Everton Designs for designing our logo, doing a really great job, really helping us to kind of professionalize. I don't know if you can find it, but if you look back through our Twitter page, you might find the original logo that I tried to make, and it is a disaster. So Everton Designs really came through. And
I was gonna say, I like the one you have now for sure. I haven't seen the old one though, but I'm totally gonna go back and do some. I'm just curious at this point.
Hopefully, I've scrubbed it. Because it was a really poor attempt at graphic design, but we were able to enlist Everton Design's help to really kind of class up our profile, and then just like I said, so me and another guy, his name is Andrew. We went through mostly Andrew doing the reaching out, just DMing anyone we could find that looked like they might be in the Cleveland area, that looked like they might be interested, going through the people that we already knew. And if you've never put together a supporters group for Everton, one of the things that you may not know is that the information that the club wants can seem a little bit invasive. They want your address, they want your birthday, things like that. So trying to get that information out of people when maybe they're not necessarily all that stoked to give it away. And that was I think that was the surprising part of it for me. But really just keeping after the people who maybe they want to be a part of it because you've spoken to them before. But people aren't always. Not everybody's thinking about being a part of the Cleveland Evertonians all the time. like maybe me and some of the other people who are organizing it are. So,
Gotcha.
so yeah, I think it is, if you're somewhere where, if you're in a semi-major city, or even a small city, and you think there's 15, 20 of you are around, and I think you'll be surprised to find that there are. Just start reaching out, and reach out to Everton FC, and they'll definitely set you on the path to getting together. And whether you got a home bar, or whether you're watching it at your house or Zooming, it's fun to get together.
What's the experience been like watching, having your Zoom watch parties?
So they've been, some of them we've had some big participation on some matches. Other times we have a little bit lower participation. Trying to at least sync up when it comes to who's watching at the same time. So sometimes with these streams, there's a delay of 2 or 3 minutes between if you're watching on TV and if you're watching on. And so trying to determine where everybody is in the match, so that you can conceal your celebration until everyone has seen the goal, or conceal your dread until everyone has seen the mistake. And that is, I think that's been the most interesting thing about Zooming to watch the match, is just trying to figure out, and then trying to contain yourself. I'm a pretty bombastic person when it comes to that stuff. So a lot of times, if something looks like it's coming up, I might turn off my screen, or I might walk away, just so that I don't ruin it for someone who's maybe a couple minutes behind.
Oh gosh, I know there's been times where I'm like, I'm the Toffee Blues group has a message group, right, where they chat back and forth, and I'll be they're in England, almost all of them. I feel like me and Jacob in Tennessee are like the only ones who are in America, and so we're getting these messages, and often they are ahead. And I'm getting these messages like a good 30 seconds, and I look up at my family. I'm like, something's about to happen. I can tell. I just got like 5 messages. Something's about to happen, And so, but that's a whole different world when you're worried about spoilers for people that you're
Right.
watching, and that's a different level of consideration. I'm not sure if most people are used to giving others.
We try, and for me, I don't mind the spoilers. In fact, I get so nervous while I'm watching the matches that oftentimes I'll be updating Twitter again and again and again, hoping to see that something has happened in a minute or so, just so I can assuage my nerves. So it doesn't bother me, but I know some of the members of our group have been critical of my ability to contain myself. So, but the other cool thing about the Zooms, though, is having people who are not a part of our group who want to be a part of it. We've had some folks from the Baltimore area. We've had some folks from over in the United Kingdom. We had. It's just been cool to get a couple different people into the group who otherwise would just be watching it by themselves and think, what, I would like to talk this over with some other Evertonians while I'm watching.
So it's a situation where, let's say if you're having a Zoom watch party on the next match, you will be giving instructions about that on Twitter, and pretty much any Evertonian that wants to be a part of it can just get in there. Is that right?
Absolutely. Anybody who wants to come on with us, and we have a core group of normally 2 or 3, sometimes more, but normally they can count on 2 or 3 of us being on, and anyone else who wants to join is absolutely more than welcome. And we try to make that clear. I don't like to just post the link out into the internet, because I know people have had some issues with Zoom intruders.
Oh, that's a thing.
But yeah. So we always try to say, look, if you want to be a part of it, DM us. We'll give you the details, and we do get some interest. We do get occasionally people who want to be a part of it, who are from elsewhere in the country or elsewhere in the world.
And there's a decent amount of people who are watching by themselves in their house or in their apartment. So if you are one of those people and you want to have a little crowd, little company, join up with these folks. That sounds really cool. And the fact you wouldn't be the first to come into the group who is not necessarily from the Cleveland area. So yeah, or if you are from Cleveland, just saying, that's one of the reasons why we talk about this stuff, is to connect trying to get everybody connected. This is very cool, man. I did not realize all that.
Midwesterners are very friendly too, so you don't have to worry about us biting your head off or anything. We're all very nice people.
I found that out. I've been to Cleveland once. I had a film shoot there. I had a video shoot there, and so I was in Cleveland once. I had a great time. I had a great time, and
sneaky fun city.
Yeah, it is. I had a really, and I ate at this one place. It was like a microbrewery that had some of the best sandwiches I've ever had in my life. Is it called Fatheads?
Fatheads, yes, very good. The head sandwiches, yeah.
My gosh, that place was like I was like, I desperately wanted it to be a chain so I could have one in North Carolina that was close by to me. So good. Holy cow. Yeah.
Great beer too. Great beer.
Yeah, the beer was incredible. So that was my favorite place that I visited in Cleveland. That good food, good beer. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Sorry, I just remember that place and I got super excited.
It's worth remembering.
So Jake, so we talked about the Cleveland Evertonian son. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you. What do you do, by the way? What's your Jake life?
Yeah, so I work for the state government here in Ohio as I do customer service for the state government basically. So that's and I live here at my house here in Northeast Ohio with my wife. I got 2 daughters, trying to raise them up to be Evertonians, although they're young and generally not super interested in sitting for 90 minutes yet.
So hard for them.
But we're getting there. They know we support the blue team, so that's a start.
How old are they, by the way? How old?
One is just about to turn 1, and the other one is 3.5.
Oh wow, they're younger than mine. See, mine are 8 and 5, and so my 8-year-old can watch almost a whole game now. 5-year-old, it's still tough. He'll watch certain moments. If you say, "Hey Turner, watch this," he'll turn around and come in and watch this one little part. But yeah, to get him to sit for a while at a stretch. Yeah. But I will say, we have this unique opportunity, Jake, to just brainwash the hell out of them, and it's great. So great.
Absolutely.
It's one of the coolest things. It's like, there's these little humans and I get to tell them about all the cool stuff. It's so great.
Keep them averse to all the not cool stuff.
Yes. So Jake, let's talk about you, the Evertonian. How are you an Everton supporter?
So Tim Howard, I think for most Americans around my age, they can point to Tim Howard as one of the big reasons that they support Everton. I think after the 2010 World Cup, I decided that I wanted to follow soccer more closely, and didn't really do a great job of doing it. Didn't really pick a team. Just kind of said, I'll watch it when it's on TV. After the 2014 World Cup, I said, no, it's got to happen this time, and so. Me and a friend did some research to decide who we wanted to support, and we were like, well, we don't want to be front runners, and we also don't want to, we want to make sure we support someone who's going to be around. And so, we kept coming back to Tim Howard and Everton, and then researching the club from there. Seeing this, it being, a club with another club in the city, and maybe having like Cleveland, like the Browns do, having a rival that does a little bit better than they do all the time. I think that kind of pulled me in. And then once I started watching matches and communicating with other Evertonians, it felt like, no, this was the only answer, the only club that I could have supported. It felt very natural, and the community is very welcoming, and for the most part, you get some of the support your local folks, but when there's not a local around necessarily for you to support with any real gusto, I guess people give you a pass. So,
what's the closest thing to a local you have, by the way, for a team wise?
Cleveland SC is in one of the lower tier USL leagues.
Okay.
And so that's kind of if there was a local, that's the local that I support. I go to their matches when I can. The guy who owns the team is actually an Evertonian, so happy to support him when we can. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the local, and I do support. If you look over here on the wall, you can see my Cleveland SC scarf.
Sweet.
So I am a supporter. I do support my local.
Yeah, it's tough because the closest thing we have to a local is the college team, the local college team, Wake Forest, and so yeah. Oh geez, the
too.
Zips.
Yes, we have that too. So that is
they're good. Every year they're good.
Yeah, and we've got some names that are really big in the game. I mean, we've got DeAndre Yedlin, a big one that people often think about. Darlington Nagbe, Will Trapp.
Yep.
Those guys are all Zips, and there's many more mostly in MLS guys who are really solid MLS players who probably aren't going to support, who aren't going to represent the country and who aren't necessarily going to go and play overseas or anything like that. But they're great players, and we're really proud of DeAndre Yedlin. That's for sure. So.
Akron came to Winston like 2 or 3 years ago to play Wake Forest in the NCAA tournament, and ended up, I think they beat us 1-0. I think it was 1-0, and they got I feel like they got an early goal and just held tight the whole rest of the time, and Wake was just trying to connect passes, trying to cut through, and they could not get through. It was Akron absolutely broke my children's hearts that day, just so you know.
It is it's really interesting the style of play that they play with. When Caleb Porter was the coach, it was very Barcelona-esque. It was death by 1,000 passes. It was maintaining all that possession and beating teams 3-4-0. With the new coach, they do play a little bit more defensive, and there's been, look, they've made runs to the college Final Four and done really well. This year was a little bit of a down year, or last year, I guess. This year there hasn't really been much of a season, so. But you can always count on them being back. It's always impressive how well they're able to recruit from around the world, guys from Germany, guys from from England, from Jamaica. It's been really, really fun to watch them. That was another big part of my soccer awakening, was going to Akron and going to those games.
Yeah, I definitely get that. That's how a lot of us get into it, is our local university college teams, for sure. So getting back to Everton, your favorite Everton goal, your favorite Everton match?
Oh, okay. So I think the Everton, when I think about my favorite Everton goal, it tends to come back. You get me okay?
Yeah, you're good now. I lost you for a second. You're back.
Okay. I think my favorite Everton goal, I keep coming back to this one, and I'm not sure why, but it was a late winner against Newcastle. I think it was Tom headed it just at it was the last.
The Tom Cleverley header.
I think that's probably mine. Yes, I think that's the one that comes to mind the most for me. I don't know why, but whenever I think about my favorite Everton goals, I always just think about the relief, right? The elation and the relief from that goal, and I think that goal was one of those really how it feels to be an Evertonian, and really in that kind of moment where you've given up on the match and you're like, yeah, this is Newcastle, really, and then you get that late winner. My favorite Everton game is probably the Chelsea FA Cup tie. Romelu Lukaku just bossed the game. I think it was a 2-0, and Lukaku just made Chelsea look really bad. Everton dominated that game from beginning to end. I think that was the quarterfinal game, so it sent us to Wembley, and I think that's probably my favorite game memory.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a really good one. I think it was Lukaku looking good in tight space on the left flank for one of his goals. It was very nice.
I think he turned. Who was it? He just turned the defender. Yeah, I can't even describe it. He just left the defender behind him and scored the. I think that was his second, and I think he really showed himself to be a top class player then. When before people were like, yeah, this guy maybe is just like a small track champion, but in that game, he showed what he's truly capable of.
Yeah, that was a massive game for him. Yeah. So who's your favorite current player?
My favorite current player is Seamus Coleman.
Oh.
Always been a big fan of Seamus, just because you can tell that he's not the most skillful or the most athletic player on the team, not the fastest, not the strongest, but I don't know if generally you ever see, if he's on the pitch, you never see anybody working harder than Seamus Coleman, tracking back, bombing forward. Yep. I think the play that comes to mind when I think about the kind of player he is in his first match back. After the leg break against Leicester City, he just made this run must have been the 85th minute of the game. This run down the side, and this is a guy who's literally his first game back from a complete leg snapping in half incident, and he's still willing to give it all in the 85th minute. No one expects that. No one thinks about doing that, but he it's like without a second thought. And I think he's a great ambassador for the club, just as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really embodies what it means to be an Everton captain. I know we'd all love a captain who's maybe a little louder and more bombastic, but I also think that you see a different Seamus Coleman on the pitch than you do. He's a kind of a quiet guy off the pitch, but on the pitch you can hear him talking, especially in the empty stadiums. You can hear him going at guys on the other team, and I really get a kick out of that too.
Yeah, his high-pitched shriek when he wants the ball is great.
And just him going after the West Brom player after he got sent off. That was Colin was asking, "Oh, you're a hard man, huh? Big tough guy, huh? You can do it again." And that's I just really enjoy that. I think because I tend to be a pretty quiet person, outside of competition. But like if you put me on any game pitch, if you put me on a tennis court or on a soccer pitch or ping pong table, whatever it is, I can get a little bit aggressive, and so I think I see myself in Seamus a little bit.
Okay, cool. What's interesting, I was actually about to ask the question I always ask, which is slightly different, but maybe your answer is the same, is which Everton player from the past or now, if your personality was a player, which one of those players is Jake Altman? And it's interesting.
I think it's probably Seamus.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, which is kind of cool that yours is actually a current player, because hardly anyone's has been. So that is very cool. So my last question has very little to do with Everton potentially. Jake, and I've started doing this selfishly. This is my new selfish thing. Jake, what are you an expert of, and how can I learn from you?
What am I an expert on, and how can you learn from me?
Sometimes it's like somebody's a big music fan, so they give me a really good lead on on an album or a band that I haven't listened to, or maybe we had someone who's a bartender who told me like an awesome idea for an awesome drink that sounded amazing. So I was giving advice about my teeth.
Oh, I need to do that. I would say that probably books. If you're looking for book recommendations, especially old books, classics that maybe aren't necessarily on the high school reading list, I think that's probably what I know the most about. I guess.
Really?
I don't know. Yes. Yeah,
so
big
like
fan of reading.
Any particular genre, or are you thinking like non-genre kind of stuff?
I mean, I'll read just about anything you put in front of me, but I think what I found to be my favorite is kind of the French romance period is where I get the most joy out of books. So what I'm talking about is Victor Hugo and Alexander Dumas, authors like that. I can read Victor Hugo over and over and over again. So that's again, if I'm an expert in anything, it's Victor Hugo.
Okay. So give me your favorite Victor Hugo that I need to read this year.
Oh, okay.
Or soon into next year, because this year's short and going away.
I'll give you a Dumas because it's my favorite book if you've never read it before, and it's The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, I've read it. I
Oh,
have
you've
read
read it.
that one.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that is my favorite book.
I
Is
bought that 2 years ago and read it because
okay.
everybody told me I needed to read it. So yes. So
It
give
is.
me another one.
All right, let's see. Trying to look over here at my shelf to see if I can't. I think the thing about those books is that they're a little bit mainstream, right? So a lot of them are fairly popular. If you've got 800 pages worth of patience, Les Miserables, very good. If
Mm-hmm.
if you've seen the musical or anything like that, that's the basis of the musical. But there's a
Right.
whole lot of book there, and there's a whole lot of commentary on the French Revolution and on France in general at the time. Uh, and it's just it's really compelling stuff. And if you've got, again, if you've got 800 pages worth of French romance patience, it's definitely worth your time.
I've usually got the patience to get through just because yeah, I mean gosh, how many like long like fantasy books have I read? You know what I mean? So it's just like, and they're like a good, 400 pages longer than it should be kind of stuff. So
Right.
so I can typically get through. So I'll work on Les Mis. I saw the film, I guess it's the Hooper uh adaptation or is it Hopper? I'm trying to remember the one with it, all I know is if as long as Hugh Jackman is not singing in this, I'm gonna be a lot better off,
I think
No,
one of the funniest things about Hugh Jackman is that Hugh Jackman, in his very core, is like an old timey song and dance man whose career was hijacked for a decade by X-Men. Right? He plays a very good Wolverine, but like at his core, and you can see it now because now he goes on tour singing, doing
yep.
like sing song shows and stuff like that. And he was in The Greatest Showman and Les Mis. Like at his core, that's who he is. That's who he wants to be. And we really distracted him for a decade, forcing him to play this invincible X-Man mutant. I think that's
It was Tom Hooper. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the most
Director.
recent?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was just one of those where I think I saw it in the theater. I don't remember why, but I saw it in the theater. That happened.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've seen that one. I've also seen the stage production two or
Hmm.
three times, and I would recommend the stage
I
production.
bet you would. You seem like you would. Yes. Yeah. Okay,
It is.
cool. Well, I'm usually a bigger fan of source material anyway.
Hmm.
Often anyway. So yeah, I would love to check that out. That's great. Yeah. Well, I have a buddy who's a big fan of the exact same uh, era, the exact same. So he's tearing through his Dumas as well. So yeah, man, that's funny that that's your thing. Very cool. All right, so a little bit of a literature tangent. We got there. It happened.
Yeah.
And now, friends, it's time to discuss what happened this weekend. So we're gonna put our intro behind us. We now know Jake Altman. Jake, welcome. So let's talk about Fulham. So in case you have been under a rock, we won. It happened. We won. Got the 3 points. Crazy little 3-2 win. That was the most bizarre roller coaster ever. Yeah. So here's some topics that maybe can jog your brain, Jake, just to get you. You can grab onto one of those or come up with whatever you want. So topics I've got written down, just some talking points. That formation, 3 in the back / 4 in the back formation. The goals, because they were pretty. Iwobi as a right wing back. What? And playing well? What? The second half, which was kind of a Tom Davies sighting that was not bad, and a little discussion of the defense, as in what is going on there. So, where do you want to go? You got any of those, or do you got a new one?
Yeah, I think where I'll start, because I think this one answers 3 or 4 of the questions, is the formation.
Mm.
I think it was interesting to see the formation change, especially considering that we had everybody back and healthy other than Seamus Coleman. I guess I kind of figured that they just slot John Joe Kenny in at right back and just keep doing what they do. So I was a little surprised to see three at the back, and I was also surprised to see that the third at the back was not Mason Holgate.
Right.
It was Godfrey instead, who I think he acquitted himself pretty well. But I think the issue is that we don't the three at the back just doesn't seem to suit our defenders, either because they're not used to it or because it's just not the way they're wired. And I think especially it does Yerry Mina wrong. And I think every time we've seen Yerry Mina play in a back three, I come back to the match, was it last season? Or I think it was the Newcastle match 2 seasons ago, where Marco Silva decided to go three at the back at the end of the match and brought Yerry Mina on, and it was just all 6s and 7s immediately. Like, as soon as he switched to three at the back, Newcastle started coming after us, and I think we lost that match 3-2. That was the match where Jordan Pickford made the penalty save and harassed the Newcastle players, and then proceeded to give up 3 goals. So
that was awful. That was so awful.
I think every time we play three at the back, especially involving Yerry Mina in that, he just seems to kind of lose his way and he gets caught out. And I think, to be honest, I think Godfrey and Michael Keane looked pretty good. I think it was Yerry Mina who was really the weak link on certainly their first goal and maybe their second goal as well. I did like Iwobi at right wing back, although anytime you're playing someone who's not a natural defender at that position, you run the risk of what happened with I think their second goal, where he was in front of the cross but wasn't able to block it.
Right.
Maybe that was the first one. And that just comes with not being a defender, right, and not knowing necessarily how to position your body to stop crosses. I think if you've got Seamus Coleman over there, that cross doesn't come in at all. And I think the other issue that I have with that formation is that we don't necessarily seem to have the ability in the midfield to get the ball from the back. What tends to happen is when we get under pressure in that formation, Yerry Mina will kind of shank a clearance, and when you need a midfielder to pick the ball up and just take it out, get it away. And we don't seem to have that ball carrying midfielder, and we haven't really had that for a long time. Having that true number 8, almost, I always come back to the person who did it well for us, who now everyone despises, is Ross Barkley. I'm not saying that you plug Ross Barkley in and suddenly this team is a lot better. I am saying that Ross Barkley is a hole that we have not filled in 3 seasons. We've tried different combinations in the midfield. We've got a lot of midfielders we got 2 number 10s in Sigurdsson and James Rodriguez. We've got a bunch of number 6s, number 8 combos. I think we have a true number 6 in Allen. We have a 6-8 combo in Decore, and I don't really know what exactly it is that Tom Davis does well. I know I don't generally like when they bring him on, because exactly that. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what role they bring him on to play. And I think if we had somebody who was able to take care of that link-up play, who was able to be the guy who picks up the ball when Yerry Mina shanks the clearance, and just take it, just run 30 yards and get us out of trouble, or even just get the ball out to Richarlison or get the ball out to James Rodriguez, I think we'd look a lot better. I don't know who that player is. I don't think they're on the team at the moment. I think the closest thing we have to it is Decore, and I just don't know that he's got the ability to carry the ball that they need for that formation.
Yeah, I think the way you were describing it, I think he was the closest that I could think of. He's definitely got the speed, and I think the only thing I would worry about is any of the close ball control. Because and that's where I think he would kind of fall down a little bit. But it's an interesting thing what you're asking here, because I do think, Tom Davies, what he does, we've seen him carry the ball in the past, but he just doesn't have a lot of pace. That's kind of that's where it's almost like you need a combination of Tom Davies and Decore. You need a you need to bring some of Decore's pace and Tom Davis's control, and maybe and Davies, his decision making has not been the best either for a person in that position. He has a tendency to be a little bit rash with his passes, especially trying to thread the needle repeatedly, giving that ball away. You see him make a lot of passes that nearly get to a really brilliant, but it just giving the ball away. And it's almost like too ambitious. So trying to figure out how to be able to actually execute those. He's
Davis,
an interesting player. Sorry, go ahead.
With Davis, it's either he's trying to thread the needle, trying to be too aggressive, or he's passing it back to Michael Keane from the halfway line, right? Like getting to the halfway line and then turning his back to goal and firing it all the way back. And we have plenty of that already with Gylfi Sigurdsson, and we had that with Mo Schneiderlin, right? We don't need that. We're trying to get rid of that tendency. We want to keep the ball moving forward, and I think when Tom Davis has the confidence to try to play those balls, if he could just connect with them, he would be pretty good.
What do you
feel like?
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask, what do you feel like Tom Davis's role is like in that match? And I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just trying to catch it on the moment because I was really curious because it seemed like he filled his role pretty, a little bit better, a little bit more of a natural fit there.
Energy, I think, was his role. I think the team looked tired. I think that way you bring Tom Davis on in that situation is for just the spark, right? Just this guy's going to run around. He's going to harry defenders and just kind of give you a little bit of extra push for the last minutes of the game that you're not going to get from these guys who have tired legs.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose that's what I see when you bring Tom Davis on. That's really the only reason I can think to bring him on is because he gives you the kind of punch of energy that maybe you're looking for. He's not the most skillful player, but he's certainly going to put a tackle in, right? He's good for probably a tackle that should be a yellow card just about every time he's on the pitch. And there's a reason to have that at times. I think a lot of us get frustrated by Tom Davis because he just kind of he has like the chicken with his head cut off thing, where he's just running around like his hair is on fire, not necessarily adding anything other than just being a nuisance to the other team, and that is needed sometimes. But sometimes you need your midfielder to do something other than just break up play.
So it's interesting. It's funny. I was going to ask you if his role was to annoy, and you said nuisance right there. And it seems like we just have a little bit of trouble getting creativity out of him. And and let's be honest, often the third spot is where that third spot across the center mid is where we would need him. And we're not really getting a lot of creativity out of any of the players who have been filling that third spot. Andre Gomez, not much. Gylfi, not much. And I mean, who else are we talking about? I mean, I realized that's really it. We don't really have anyone who's filling that third center mid role. They're all kind of, just kind of one step away from exactly what we need. Yeah.
They're pieces of the perfect midfielder, but they're not. I think you look at a guy, we've tried Iwobi at that position, and he just doesn't seem to function very well in it. I think Bernard would fit if he was a couple of inches taller, just a little bigger. He just doesn't have the ability to maintain possession when he's in the crowd, right? He's just too small to play the role. If we could get him, I think the bottom line for me is if we either need to pick somebody up who can play that position, or we need to pick up a legit right winger so that James Rodriguez can play that position. I don't know that James Rodriguez is the perfect fit, but I think if you move James Rodriguez to a true number 10 role, you can kind of move Decore and Allen into almost a double pivot, and then you can play a true right winger on the right wing. There is no right winger on on this roster. We loaned one to Southampton.
Yeah.
You know, we sold one to Red Bull Leipzig a couple of years ago, and he doesn't look very good. You know, I don't know what we had with Anthony Gordon, but I think he's a left-sided player anyway. So we just don't even have that. We don't have anyone who plays that position, and we're just plugging in guys who belong on the other side, or we're plugging in James Rodriguez, who can do what he does anywhere on the pitch and be effective. But if we had a true right winger, I think you could see that formation become more of like a 3-1-2-4, where James is playing off the striker, and he's able to influence every side of the pitch, and make those runs into the box and score more goals.
Yeah, it's interesting that we've shifted to that 4-3-3, or predominantly 4-3-3 for this season, because it's, you know, James playing that third part of the first three, you know, instead of the wing of the second three. It's almost, I just don't know if he can do the running required at this time. I feel like we need him with minimal defensive responsibilities. So it's what you were saying. I think you're right. It would necessitate a formation shift, and just realigning the expectations, and, you know, making it more of a 4-2, you know, 3-1 or something like that, where you actually have a 10 who's playing a 10. That's tough. It's tough because, you know, we do this shift of formation against Fulham. Do we do it because Seamus Coleman is hurt, and because we're thinking, okay, this is the best move for our defense? Or do we do it because, oh, we're going to base our change on the opposition, and you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a weird scenario, you know?
I would hate to think that they changed to a more defensive formation for Fulham.
For Fulham, right? Is it because they're so worried about our defense?
I mean, the defense has been poor.
Yeah.
I guess so what this tells me is that John Joe Kenny, they don't view John Joe Kenny as an answer at right back, which is, in my opinion, the right decision. I don't see him ever being the level that we need him to be, and I think that speaks to continued development issues within the club. How we get all these what we talk about in baseball as 4A players, right? These guys who are way too good for AAA, but just are never going to be good enough for the big league squad. And we have Everton is the king of creating those guys, of creating those 4A players. And I mean, I look at a guy like Tom Davis, who is I mean, if you drop Tom Davis, I mean, you see it. They, you know, the U23s or the U21s play Tom Davis for England, and he looks incredible. You know, John Joe Kenny, you drop him in those situations, or if you played John Joe Kenny with somewhere with Unsworth or elsewhere, he looks very good. He looks on the pace, but as soon as you put him on the Premier League pitch, he just doesn't seem to have it. And you know, so I think management doesn't see Kenny as an answer, and so they're kind of scrambling. I think they probably should have added a right back in the summer, because Seamus Coleman is just at a point in his career where you just can't count on him. You can't count. I mean, when was the last time Seamus Coleman played a full season? I can't remember.
And the thing is, when he plays, usually he gives you good game, and then there's it's either an injury or he just has a little falter, it's not through. I mean, it's just, guy is just getting older, and it's just the way it is, you know. And that's why we were talking about this last week, man. And the situation is frustrating that we make a move to keep John Joe Kenny. But, you know, during the summer, we say, okay, we're going to keep him, right? Unless someone pays us what we think we deserve for him. And so we make a move to keep him, which is a bold bluff if it's a bluff, right? Because then you're not covered at a really valuable position. If you don't actually trust him. I was sitting there last week, we were talking about this. The solution had to be John Joe Kenny. They obviously trusted him, right? But then they do this huge formation shift against Fulham, it makes you think, no, they don't trust him.
Yeah.
And
It's,
it's a little agitating. You know what I mean?
well,
Because
it tells
I
you,
was hoping that they believed in him, and that's why we kept
right,
him. That's why they gave him that jersey. You
right,
know?
right. Well, and there's I think it also tells you that they don't necessarily believe in a couple other players too, because there's other players who can play that position, who have played that position.
True.
Tells you maybe they don't. I think with Mason Holgate, it's a fitness issue. I think he's not quite fit.
I would agree with
Um,
that too.
I think Tom Davis is another guy that you could naturally slide into that position because he plays with energy, and that's what you need at that position. Obviously, you need someone who can defend, but Tom Davis can defend well enough, and maybe that's a position where you can kind of hide him a little bit, where you can use his ability that he does have, and you can kind of hide his flaws at that position. Just ask him to be a nuisance and be in the way. I mean, how many teams I can think of? A lot of teams. I think of Southampton, who's got. I think it's their left back, the guy who's just a nuisance whenever he plays against Everton. I can't remember his name now. Is it? I think Redmond's the winger. It's the
Redmond is
other
their winger. Ryan Bertrand's their left back usually.
Ryan Bertrand. Yes, he's just like, he's not a particularly skillful player. He's not a particularly good defender. He's just a nuisance. He's always a problem.
Yeah.
And I think you could have Tom Davis play that role. So I think that tells you that they don't, they look at Tom Davis and they say, well, no, we don't really like you there. They look at Mason Holgate and maybe he's not fit. And so they're plugging in a guy who plays left midfielder generally at right wing back. And I think that really is kind of a look into the state of that back line of specifically that right back position. And I wonder if Kyle John, who is the next man up allegedly,
right.
He's hurt now, but I wonder if he was healthy, if we'd be seeing him over John Joe Kenny right now. I don't know if we would or not. It's
I don't.
hard to
it'd
say.
be hard to imagine that. The fact that gosh, it also made me wonder if John Joe Kenny is a little injured and we didn't realize that either. You know
Maybe
what I mean?
he might still be carrying that injury from the FA Cup, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or from the League Cup match. I hadn't really considered that. That's possible. I still don't see how. Again, I don't see how that necessitates an entire formation change. A completely drastic shift to a formation that I don't believe that Carlo is all that known for running that kind of formation.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting to see that they would make that change, and it makes me wonder also not only about the right back position, but if they're seeing the same thing that we're seeing in the midfield, where they just don't have the guy that they need to play that other midfield position, and so let's just eliminate that position and use Decore and Allen instead. And if that's the case, again, it just necessitates some wheeling and dealing in the transfer market, or and I don't know that we're going to get that in the winter. I think this is kind of what we're looking at until the summer.
Yeah, I can't imagine unless we try to pull off some loans or loan with an obligation to buy later on, kind of an IOU, if you will. Very weird. The formation thing threw me off. I was happy to see some experimentation on it, to avoid being stale, avoid feeling stale. And I was like, okay, well, that's thinking outside the box a little bit to solve a problem. I like that. What do you think? I think this is maybe the last little bit on the Fulham match. What do you think is the main culprit for us kind of looking so stagnant in the second half? Was it their adjustments that they made to our formation, or was it an energy thing where we had that 2-goal lead, and that's always the crap lead to have because it makes you feel super secure?
Right. I think there was a little bit of that. I do think that we looked vulnerable in the first half as well, though. I think that at times they looked just as vulnerable, if not more vulnerable, in the first half. I think what it comes back to a lot of times when we watch this kind of same thing play out for Everton is it's the continued, and it's just the continued issues of game management and mental toughness and just keeping yourself in the game. I think that a lot of these guys are kind of the same guys that we've seen do this for 2, 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're surprised when we change the manager, or when we add James Rodriguez and the defenders still, have these late game lapses. It's still the same guys. We're high on them right now because we're having a good season so far, or we were having a great season, and things have kind of come off the rails a little bit. But obviously, getting 3 points against Fulham gets us back on track. But I think it's the same. We are running out pretty much the same back line as we were last season, and for parts of the season before that. And so when you're doing that, you're going to see a lot of the same results. And I think basically they got the 2-goal lead, and people started to get a little tired, and maybe Carlo waited a little bit too long to freshen things up. Mm-hmm. And Fulham is already in a position where they're playing for survival. And anytime you're playing against a team like Fulham, especially at their home ground, even though there's no fans there, it's still, we lost to Fulham away 2 years ago. I think we lost to Fulham away the last time they were in the Premier League before. So it's a tough place to play, and they get going, and and they've got some skillful players. As soon as they brought on Mitrovic, I was convinced that this is the guy. This is exactly the guy who always does it. And I was told that he's never scored against Everton, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because he seems. I feel like I've watched Mitrovic score those late equalizers many times. But I guess it just must be. I must be imagining his face on some other similar striker's body. But I think I do think it comes back to just Carlo continuing to instill mental toughness, and frankly continuing to pull the weeds to get the people who have those mental toughness issues, whoever they are, right? Whoever it is, I don't have a name. There's not like a specific player that I'm calling out here, but if we can kind of diagnose this is the reason why we continue having these lapses, then you gotta replace that person with somebody else. And we've seen them improve on that under Carlo, but we still see it every now and then. Like we saw it against Newcastle away, like we saw it against Arsenal late last season, where they score a goal and then they immediately concede, or the other team misses a penalty and then you immediately concede. Those things, it's just an issue of focus and mental toughness, and it's got to be fixed however you can fix it.
And one hopes that the more you grind out, the more success you have when you do grind it out. You stop assuming the worst every time. You kind of start building a little vat of experience. You build a catalog, and you're like, you know what? Last week we played like crap second half, and we grounded out, and we still got the 3 points. It builds that confidence to be able to look back and prove and say, you know what, we did this last week. It's okay. We've been in a similar situation, learn from it.
Good teams win their clunkers, right? They find a way. Good teams have bad games and they still win, and it makes you angry when you're watching it as a neutral, when you're watching Manchester City play terrible for 90 minutes, or the other lot across the park play terrible for 90 minutes and still get the 3 points, right? Still get the 92nd minute winner. That's infuriating, but that's what good teams do.
Yeah.
And I think Everton proved that they are a good team by winning that game. I think they are a good side, and I think past Everton sides would have drawn that game. Maybe even lost it. How many times have we seen that exact scenario play out against Bournemouth or against Newcastle, or
put in Omar Nias up by put him in late, and all of a sudden we lose. It's we've seen it. We have, just saying, we have seen that. So when that game was finished, were you feeling? Did you have positive reaction to the end of that game, or were you more just ticked off it was close?
I think that at first, as time has gone on, I've felt a lot better about it. I think my initial response was we've gotten away with one here, and I would hope that the locker room isn't elated. I would hope that they're not walking into the locker room like, yeah, job done, right?
Yeah.
I would hope that they're having an introspective conversation with themselves where they're like, we did not deserve to take 3 points from this game. And if not for Richarlison being the machine that drives this team, if we had to go another match without Richarlison here, I think Fulham probably would have taken us apart. And I think that's troubling when you try to think of like the long-term success of this team, is that Richarlison's not always going to be healthy, and he's not always going to be available for the reasons that we've seen in the past. He has a little bit of a hot head. So when he plays, you can see that this is a good side. And then what you saw for 3 matches when he doesn't play, this side is a mid-table side.
Fewer ideas for sure. Yeah. I finished honestly going into that game. I thought I just want 3 points. I'm fine with grinding it out based on where we're at right now. We've had some poor results, some not great performances in that stretch, and I said before the game started, I said I think it'll be a 2-1 win, and I'm fine with it. And I do, and I am. I'm a little bit. Was a little bummed that we didn't sit there and just dazzle second half the way we did some of that beautiful football that we showed in the first half. Yeah, but at the same time, grind it out. Let's get another streak going.
Yep.
Do whatever you have to. We're not a deep squad. Let's just get 3 points how we get 3 points and frickin' keep the ball rolling, please. So, yeah.
Get out of town with everybody healthy.
Yes.
That's the other goal.
Absolutely.
Get out of that game. Get out of that game without anybody picking up any knocks. We can't be missing guys.
And these days, no red cards. Yeah. There's that too. All right. So I think we're ready to move on from Fulham. That's 3 points. Sees us in 6th right now. Not the worst thing. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, mailbag. We're going to do a little bit of a rapid fire mailbag. I have all of these are from Instagram, and because there are so many, we're going to rapid fire this. All right. So, are you ready, Jake?
Let's go.
Okay. Brindo EFC asks, who do you want, Isco or Milik?
Isco.
I agree, Isco. COYB Graham asks, are there many Everton supporters in the U.S.?
Tons. Way more than you'd think. And Evertonians are by nature quieter people, I find. And so you're not going to see them posting some 4-letter meaningless acronym about a stupid show tune every time that their team is playing. But we're out here, and if you look for us, we're all over the place.
He's talking about YMCA by the Village People, just so you know. That's what he's talking about. Yes. An amendment to that, I will say, there are a lot more Everton supporters than you would expect, but still, there's so much work to be done to unearth more. So much more. So many more people don't realize that this is the club that they would identify with if they knew more about it.
There's people who are waiting to be. There's people who identify as Everton supporters who are waiting to be activated.
Yes.
And, sometimes
great
the
way to
club
say
could
that.
do more. And as they say, right? Evertonians are born; they're not manufactured. So it's not like they're already here. They just need to have that button pushed. Whether it's by Everton having an American player on the team again, which I am always making calls for. There are American players around the world who could improve Everton, and I think Everton should be. I'm biased, but I think they should be aggressive in going after those guys. And I also think that just being here, spending time here, making it so that our apparel is available on the shelves here, all those things will help. And Hummel is really helping us move in the right direction there.
Fully agree with that. Yeah. So I feel like we could talk about that one for a long time.
Yeah. That's the ultimate American Evertonian question.
Yes. This is another Isco question from Cody Corns. What do you think about Isco? Would he be a good signing?
my heart says yes and my head says no, so I'm going to go with yes. I think that he could be the guy who plugs into that role that I was talking about earlier, who can carry the ball forward. Either that, or you can switch him around with James Rodriguez. I think they're very similar players.
Mm. Yeah, I think you sign a player like Isco when you have the opportunity, and we are still building a squad. That's my main thing. Let's build a squad. Let's get some depth. And do you have to start every single good player you have every game? No.
Anytime you have the ability to sign starting players, players who have, maybe they're not starting now, but players who have started for a club like Real Madrid, you probably ought to sign that guy.
Yeah. I think we would find a way to make that a good signing. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
MWEFC asks, do you think we still need a center back now that we have Mina, Keane, Godfrey, Holdgate, etc.? I guess that's leaving out Branthwaite as well, right?
Yeah. No, I think I'm happy with the center back room at the moment.
And I agree.
I think we can't allow ourselves to believe that form is temporary. And some of these guys are in really good form, and we know what they are. So we can't trick ourselves into thinking that all of a sudden these guys are the best center backs in the league. And we are giving up a lot of goals. Having said that, I don't think that it's a priority right now.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's good quality depth. Now it's just about building partnerships and stability and understanding between partnerships. So yeah. Mary the Grass Fairy asks, hell yeah, by the way, to that Instagram name. When Gbamin returns, is 100% healthy. Does he start?
I don't know. I mean, we've seen so little of him that I don't even know what exactly it is that he does well. I think at this moment, if you put a gun to my head and ask me, I'd say that he's depth for Doucouré and Allen, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. Happy to be shown that he can play that role that I've been talking about. If he can play that role, plug him in. He scored some goals with Mainz, so if he can play the role, happy to see him play instead of Andre Gomes or Gylfi Sigurdsson. But at this moment, especially after such a long-term layoff, I think he spends a lot of time on the bench, and maybe we don't see the best of him until later this year, if we even see it this year at all.
I wonder, just throwing this out there, if he had the option of making Doucouré go a little more forward and Gbamin pull back a little bit more, do you start Gbamin with, you know what I mean, and have him be the more defensive of the?
I think I worry.
It just now occurred to me. Sorry, I realize you've already covered this, but it just hit me.
Maybe I worry that since we don't know anything about Gbamin, we have a little bit of Kevin Morales syndrome with him, where a player who's been on the bench forever, who we know. I mean, we don't know much about Gbamin, but like with Kevin Morales and with other players on Everton's bench, we know they're not very good, but they sit on the bench for a little while, and all of a sudden they become Leo Messi.
Yes,
and
they do.
They become the thing that Kevin Morales is. I always think of him as this player who just, the longer he sits on the bench, the better he gets in the minds of Evertonians. He's always this game is crying out for Kevin Morales. No, it's not. He's not good. He was bad the last time he played. He's got a bad attitude. Get him out of here.
So, and the way I answer that question is, does he start? I'm going to say sometimes. Yeah. Because my ideal Everton squad is fluid, and we don't have the same starters every week. And there's going to be times where Doucouré needs a rest. There's going to be times where other combination, of players necessitates we need a little bit sterner defensive presence in the middle. Cool. I'm totally fine with him being at first just straight up depth and sub, and then eventually cycling in to be a starter at times. I could see that.
We're going to need players like Gbamin if we're going to be a team that's in Europe.
Absolutely.
You've got to have the, even if he is in your second squad, in your second tier, you need to have that a player that does where the drop off is not. If we have to drop Doucouré for whatever reason, you need that drop to be this instead of like this. And I think that's what Kevin gives us right now. When he's healthy, I think that's what he gives us, is the ability to maybe rest Decore, maybe rest Allen, and not be concerned that you're plugging in a guy who's going to be, just drowning in the midfield immediately.
Okay, Aaron Fitton, let's say that. Holgate starting instead of Mina.
Probably.
I'll say sometimes.
Yeah, I think that Mina and Michael Keane have been a serviceable partnership. I think that our best partnership last season certainly seemed like it was Holgate and Michael Keane. It seems like if you plug Michael Keane in next to a player who can take a little bit of the responsibility of leadership off of him, he plays a lot better. And I don't know that Gerry Mina gives you a lot of leadership at the back, a lot of stability. I think he's a good player, but I think Michael Keane feels like probably he has to cover for Gerry Mina's mistakes sometimes. I think you can count on Mason Holgate to be a little less mistake prone.
Yeah, I think the hope is we just keep getting Holgate to be more and more fit and game ready, so we can start him on a more regular basis. And also, the more he's in, he's going to build more understanding. That was the thing that I felt like was lacking the other day when we saw Holgate in there with Keane. It looked like there was some communication lapses here or there. And so I think the more that they get in there, they're going to get used to each other again. It's been a little while. So Josh Farley asks, where will Everton finish this season?
6th.
He says 6th. I say 4th because I'm being bold this year. Normally
right.
I'm just like, but yeah, I'm going 4th. I'm just saying it, just doing it.
All right. I hope so.
Doing it.
I hope so.
And we are so not deep, and it's a silly prediction, and I know it, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you asked me another day, if you had asked me right after the Fulham match, or if you'd asked me after we lost to Southampton, I'd have told you 15th.
15.
So today, I think we're going to finish in 6th place. I think I look around the league, and I don't see some of the traditional powers being super strong. So as long as we can put up good performances against those teams, I think we have a really good chance of finishing in a really strong position, 6th place.
Right on. I think I've heard 5th, I've heard 6th. Yeah, I mean I'm fine with Evertonians predicting that because they tend to be very realistic. So yeah, I think that's awesome. Corey, I'm gonna butcher Corey's name. Corey Darachne says Tim Howard is the best American to play for Everton. Do you agree? I have already said this in a different week. Yes.
Do I have hold on, let me check my Cleveland Evertonian scarf, or my American Evertonian scarf to see the other names. Yeah, I'd say that Tim Howard is probably the best. Let me change that. I think Tim Howard is probably far and away the best American to have spent a considerable amount of time at Everton. Maybe if Landon Donovan was around for longer, he could have made a run at that. But because that guy just scores goals. But based on the work product, I'd say that Tim Howard, longevity. I mean, there was a time probably early when I started following that Tim Howard was one of the top goalkeepers in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, towards the end, I think we maybe had a little bit of a bad taste in our mouths because things kind of went sour with him, and he kind of got trapped in the Roberto Martinez sinking ship because he was a big supporter of Roberto, and I think people held that against him. I think obviously he was making mistakes, but there was a time when he was unbeatable, and I think back to like when he was playing for the United States in 2010 in the World Cup, or even in the 2014 World Cup against Belgium, where the guy was, just an incredibly instinctive goalkeeper, and probably, he's in the pantheon of the best Everton players in the last 10, 15 years. I think if we could have prime Tim Howard or prime Jordan Pickford, I think most people would probably bite your hand off for Tim Howard at this point. So.
All right. Moving on. MWEFC asks Luka Dean, best left back in the Premier League. I mean, I say yes. Done.
Right now, I think I'd probably say yes too. I think if we're talking form, yeah. If we're talking probably talent, I think there's some other guys who might be a little better, but
Different
I'll
players,
certainly
different
take.
qualities too. You
I
know.
really like Ben Chilwell. Um, I'm a fan of his. I was a fan of his at Leicester, and then I mean you have a really hard time counting out the guy across the park too as one of the top left backs around. So I'll take right now. If you ask me today, I'd take Dean over both of those guys. So I'd
Yeah.
say yes. Yes is the answer. The simple answer is yes.
I remember when I was watching his tape before he joined us, I was watching him. I was kind of like, well, this guy doesn't really dribble past people. He doesn't do much with straight up speed. It's more clever passing and runs and really brilliant balls. Yeah. And so it's just weird. I remember I was watching a video with my kids, like about all the talented left backs right now. And it started with this flurry of Alphonso Davies, and you're seeing all this amazing dribbling ability. You see all this defensive prowess. You see all this like on the ball skill moves, and then Luka Dean is the next one, and it's the opposite type of like montage. It's just totally different. It's these brilliant like set pieces. It's these curling balls in to and these assists. He's just a different type of player, and that's why I'm not sure that everybody respects his highlights. You know what I mean? Because it's different. It's not the same.
When you're a team with the quality of Bayern Munich, you have the ability to play a left winger at left back and get away with it. I think that's what you're looking at there, is that they're given the latitude just by the skill everywhere else on the pitch to where you can play Alphonso. I think if you plugged Alphonso Davies onto this Everton team, you'd get torched, just because he's not to me he's not a left back. He's a left winger, maybe a left wing back, but I'd happily plug him in at left wing and move Richarlison to the right. But I don't know about him I don't know that you could plug him in anywhere else and have him have that same success at that position. I don't think he's a particularly good defender. But
I would also love to see him do like dribble out of the back the way he does so often in the Premier League. I would love to see that. Not saying he couldn't do it, because I think he's a fantastic player. I probably rate him more than you do defensively, but at the same time, I always love the idea of seeing people challenge themselves against different types of opposition. I'd love to see that.
Sure.
So anyway, but yeah, only mention that because it's Luka Dean is not as much of a flash player. His highlights are different. So I think it leads to him being overlooked at times. But yeah, I'm giving it to him.
Yeah, I think so.
Ollie R2811 asks the best player at Everton right now.
I think that James Rodriguez became the best player at Everton as soon as he walked in the door. I think there isn't anybody else who's got the level of ability that James Rodriguez has. I mean, I think you could make a case for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and certainly I would hope that Everton rates him very highly, so that we can, if for some reason they decide that he has to go, we get the financial compensation that we deserve for him. So I'd say that it's James Rodriguez based on his ability, based on his resume, but it's not far and away. But I do think as soon as he arrived, he became the best player on the team.
It's hard to argue that. I think there's definitely room to mention Richarlison.
Sure,
he's part of the conversation.
Richarlison is probably the most important player at Everton.
Pretty darn important, yeah.
But I'd say that James Rodriguez is probably still better than he is right now. I think Richarlison has the potential. Richarlison has the potential to be a Ballon d'Or winner. I mean, he's incredible. He's also still very young. We'll see where his career takes him. Hopefully, he's at Everton for a really, really, really long time.
Yeah.
I think we know how this tends to go. So fingers crossed that we keep him as long as we can.
Yeah. Just a couple of quick last ones. Michael Bone 1 asks, do you think Carlo has lost a step in ways of coaching?
No, I think he surrounds himself with. I think by surrounding himself with his son and with Duncan, he still is in good shape as far as keeping in touch. I think that's why if you're Carlo, that's why you keep Davide around. Is because if he's lost a step in coaching, he's got this mini me, right, who can kind of keep pushing forward. I think that's important, and I don't think Duncan Ferguson ever gets old. I don't think that's that style, the blood and thunder,
right.
Play for the club, play with your heart. That works in every era. It never goes out of style.
Yeah, and I think the reason people are asking this question, by the way, is because of the solutions that Carlo has had to start drawing up because of our lack of depth, because of our injuries, because of our red cards. And he's having to get creative and having to make some tactical changes and some decisions that people are doubting because they're not always working. And I would counter with the fact that, yeah, they're tough situations.
Right.
So that's it's tough for it to work every time. So it's not an easy task that he's got. So I don't think he's lost a step. I think we still have a lot of ground to make up in terms of being the club we want to be.
Yep. So, agreed.
Last thing, Hector_JW. What positions do we need to improve in the January transfer window? Let's pretend that we could loan a couple of players. What are your two positions you loan in?
Two positions that I loan in, assuming that Seamus Coleman is healthy and could play the rest of the season. So we'll just get that assumption in. I would say that for me, it's that midfield position, that ball carrying midfield position, and then probably after that, if we're going to stick with the formation that we've been running, other than this week, probably someone to back up Dominic Calvert-Lewin would be the other thing that I would say.
I had a feeling you'd go there.
Right now, Tosin, I actually like Tosin as a player. I think that there is a role for him at Everton. If he's going to be here, we might as well use him. We've seen in the past, especially his first season here, that if you give him chances, he will score. I don't know that this team necessarily makes the kind of chances that he tends to put away a whole lot. And then I wonder, Ellis Sims seems like he should be ready to come up to the big boy squad, but no one else, the club doesn't seem to think that yet.
Right.
So if Ellis Sims isn't ready, then loan him out and bring in, we don't have to bring in like some young player whose future is at Everton forever. I mean, I know he wouldn't come, but someone like Olivier Giroud would be just fine.
Yeah, and I limited you by saying two positions, very knowingly because I was curious as to what you would say. But yeah, I think the right back position, as you mentioned, we'd have to make sure that's covered in some way. That's one that problem just. Terry sent us a question in last week from Mailbag talking about how that problem doesn't seem to be going away right now, and it doesn't. So that's more fodder, more conversation fodder to figure out how we're going to approach that.
Sometimes people would say, I think some people would say goalkeeper too. I would say that at this point, I kind of look at the goalkeeper position like a closer in Major League Baseball. If you've got everything you need in the starting rotation already and you've got the offense to get the job done, then yeah, go after a closer. But like, it's a luxury position that we don't necessarily look. Jordan Pickford is good enough to get us where we feel like we should be right now. Is he good enough to get us to win the league, to win the Champions League, anything like that? No, probably not. But to get us into 7th place, 6th place, get us into Europe, we got into Europe with Joel Robles. So
yes, we did.
We can get into Europe with Jordan Pickford.
Plus, I like our backup, Jake. I like Olsen. I think he's a good keeper. I would love to see him get a little bit more time. I think if he were playing, I think we'd still have some solid results. So
maybe
regardless, I don't think we need to replace either one of them in January. There's no need for that. So yeah.
No, go after, if you're going to do something like that, go after a big fish in the summer.
Indeedly. to quote Ned Flanders. All right, that one's. Let's move on to Leeds. Leeds is this weekend. Very, very odd that I care about Leeds at all. Normally, why with the Leeds? But I watched the entire first season of the Amazon show with them. My whole family watched it together. So yeah, it was cool to sit there and go on that journey with them. That was nice. That was a neat thing to watch that show. So now I actually can put a little personality to some of these players that they have, which is cool. Also, Jack Harrison went to Wake Forest, man. That is freaking cool. All right, that is so neat that a Wake Forest player is playing in the Premier League. That's crazy. So so I don't really know a whole lot about like how I'm supposed to feel about Leeds as a club. I feel like a lot of times I talk to Everton supporters and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can't like them. Their supporters are awful." So I don't know enough about Leeds today.
Yeah, I'm not. Everything I know about English geography and like English like culturally is based on soccer. So
yeah.
But I don't know. It's been so long since Leeds has been in the Premier League that I have virtually no conception of what they are. So.
See, I thought it was kind of cool because they were historically such a big club. They had this massive stadium, and then things got so bad for them as a club. I was kind of psyched to see that they had made it back up. I was like, okay, cool. You like seeing people get on their feet. That's awesome.
It's one of those. It's one of those clubs that belongs in the top flight. I look at there's 3 or 4 clubs in the championship that I look at, and I'm like, man, that club just they belong in the top flight. A club like Nottingham Forest, to me, they belong in the top flight, and they're just wallowing away in the championship. And there are clubs that are in the Premier League that you look at them and you're like, what is Brighton still doing here, right? Like, how is it that we're still talking about Brighton and Hove Albion as a Premier League side, and yet Sunderland's in League One? It's baffling, but
yeah. I think the one that always catches people that a couple years ago, a friend of mine started watching Premier League for the first time. He's an avid soccer guy. Watched a lot of Serie A, and then all of a sudden just decided, I'm going to watch Premier League now. And he just would not shut up about the fact that Burnley is in the Premier League and how it was ridiculous to him. And he just would not. And I was like, look, they got a manager. They're stable. They have a lot of 0-0, 1-0 wins. All right. And they find a way. And there's something admirable about that. Just saying. Having said that, that stability and the way people grind out results sometimes, some of these clubs, Leeds does not get results like that. That is not how Leeds play now under Bielsa. They're a wacky team. They're a wacky squad. Their current form, they're 14th in the Premier League. They're 3-2-4 with 11 points. Did I get that right? That's a lot for 14th.
That's right.
The previous 3 matches had a 0-0 draw with Arsenal. They had a 4-1 loss to Palace and a 4-1 loss to Leicester. Just weird, bizarre results from this team. Their possible lineup, I'll just throw this out there. Meslier, trying to get the French pronunciation right on this, guys. I'm sorry. Meslier, Luke Ayling, Cooper, Koch, Dallas. Sorry, I just went all like American. Dallas, Texas. Yeah. What's wrong with me? Phillips, Rafinha, Rodrigo, Klich, Jack Harrison, go Deeks, and Patrick Bamford, who has 7 goals this season. What?
Danger, man.
Yeah, and Klich has 3 assists. So, yeah, you play against a Bielsa team. You know they're going to do the work. The question is, how many goals are you going to put past them, because they tend to give up a lot. What do you think about this squad? Have you had a chance to watch Leeds play at all this season? Do you have any thoughts about them at all?
I watched them early in the season. Didn't they have like a 4-3 with the other lot in the first game of the season?
It's the first one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've seen some other when I looked earlier today, when I knew that I was coming on here, I saw that their goals for are actually a lot lower than I expected them to be. I think they average less than 2 goals a game, which kind of surprised me, and they give up about 2 goals a game. So you can score against this team. They're pretty easily cut open. They kind of remind me of like a worse version of Everton under Martinez, right? Just playing with the back door open an awful lot. Leaving their goalkeeper with a lot of tough saves to make. And I think that's kind of what we knew they were going to be when they came up. We knew that they were going to be the team that almost like a better version of Norwich last season. They were going to have a go. They were going to come out and try to score goals, and if they could score more goals than you, then that's going to be a problem. But if you can cut them open a couple of times, they're kind of soft inside. I do feel a little nervous. Patrick Bamford is just one of those guys. He's like Mitrovic, right? You look at him and you're like, that guy. You can just tell that he is looking to score against Everton, right? He's a championship striker who like makes his entire Premier League career on scoring goals against Everton. I don't know that Patrick Bamford has ever even played against Everton before, but just looking at him, it just feels that way.
That's hilarious.
Feels like the kind of guy that's good for a brace against Everton just about every time he plays them. We'll see. I think that our center backs can probably handle him. I think he's probably more of like a thumper striker, and I think those are the kind of strikers that this particular center back pairing seems to do well against. Right? You're not going to out jump Gerry. He's gigantic. Right. So I'm cautiously optimistic about this match. I think I would feel a lot better if we didn't have the form that we've been in defensively. But I would say I expect to win. I expect to beat Leeds at home. The squad doesn't. I look at the squad and I don't see anything that jumps out at me as particularly problematic, other than maybe that link up between Cleach and Patrick Bamford. If he's able to put good crosses in, it'll be an issue for our defense. But as long as we can marshal Bamford and limit chances and take our chances, I think this is a game where Richarlison's probably got to score because he's going to have lots of chances. It might be the kind of game where you have more like we had early this season with James Rodriguez standing by himself at the back post, scoring goals. Yeah. Right, that's what we need to do here. And we need to put the game as soon as we can. I think we got to put the game beyond doubt. If you let a team like this hang around, that's when you have problems. So just put it to the sword as soon as you can. If we can get up 2-0, 3-0 early, and not concede that after we go up 1-0 goal that we tend to concede. I think that's the way you beat this team is just put them to the sword as soon as you can. Don't
catch them.
Yeah, don't let them catch you, because that's what they're looking to do, right? They're looking to score 3 goals before you know it, before you realize that you're down 3-1 to Leeds. That's not a position that we want to be in, because we know this team does struggle to play from behind and has for a long time.
Possible lineup. Are we assuming that Coleman is not back?
Yeah, I think so.
I doubt so too. So are we thinking we're going to roll that 3 in the back again?
No, I don't think they will. I think if we hope that Mason Holgate is healthy, I think you plug Mason Holgate in at right back, and then from there you basically try to run the playbook from Coleman being available. I don't know. I don't think Carlo goes with 3 at the back again. I think that experiment kind of didn't work out. If he does go 3 at the back, I think maybe you don't see Yerry Mina. Maybe you see Holgate plugged in instead of Yerry Mina.
Interesting. Yeah, I was thinking he was going to go back. I had a feeling he was going to go back to the 3 in the back just because the first half worked out all right. And Iwobi performed, I guess, in a position that we weren't expecting that, and he performed pretty well. But you make a good point. If Holgate's healthy, does that change? That may change formation. but that certainly could change personnel. But if he and Coleman are not really all the way ready, then we're going to see Godfrey, Mina, and Keane again with Iwobi and Dean on those wing backs. Alon and Decore, and then James, DCL, and Richarlison. I think you can almost guarantee Alon, Decore, James, DCL, Richarlison are all starting in some iteration. I love the fact that we have players that drift, by the way, throughout the game. James, he may seem like he's playing that right side, and then later on in the half, all of a sudden he looks like he's playing a more traditional number 10 from the center, playing through the middle. I love that. I love giving other teams problems by doing that kind of stuff. We've been doing it all year, but it's just kind of cool to see because we did it some on Sunday. So, yeah. I'll be curious about this, man, about the formation and who's available. Because I just would love to get a straight answer about, like, Holgate and Coleman and John Joe Kenny and just some of these people. I just wish we knew, like, the deal. So, anyway. So, you think we're going to win. What do you think the score's going to be, man?
I'm going to go for 4-2. I think that their form kind of shows that they're going to give up some goals. I think that Richarlison is due for a couple, but I do think we'll continue our streak of giving up 2 goals. I think probably we go up 3-0 or 3-1. They score and make it interesting sometime in the second half, and then we put a late deal breaker in that ends it for us.
Well, I'm not as optimistic as you on this one. I'm picking a 2-2 draw, which is rare for me. I'm not – I feel I would like to see some more consistency in our play to really be able to – the fact that we ground out that last victory, which is kind of what I thought we were going to have to do. I don't know. And I don't even necessarily think a draw is a bad result against Leeds. Because this is sort of an electric attack from them. I would love, oh man, a clean sheet against them, against a team that attacks the way they do. That would go a long way toward making my confidence just
definitely.
So I'm not normally. It's weird to pick a draw. It feels weird, but I don't know. I just felt it in my mind brain. I don't know why. Yeah. All right. So yeah. Normally you get such optimism here, everyone. I feel like we were still optimistic. Sorry. All right. So that's the end of the show. The show is over. We're done. So, Jake, we're gonna have to have you on again. This was great, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Anytime. Happy to join.
And is there anything you need to plug, like Cleveland Evertonians or anything else you want to get the word out there about right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just follow us, interact with us on Twitter, and we're a little bit on Instagram. They're both the same. It's like you said, phonetically, it's Cleverton OH at Cleverton OH. So give us a follow. We try to be kind of active. Sometimes we go a little while without being super active. So hold us accountable. Tweet at us. Join our Zooms when we put them out. We don't do it every game, but we try to do it when we can. So if you're looking for someone to talk to, if you're alone by yourself watching the match, happy to share the waking up early and drinking and watching Everton with people around the world. So
that's Cleverton. Oh.
Yeah, there you
go. All right. So just to get a few pluggy things out of the way for us, I probably should have done this at the beginning of the show. But if you're like, you know what, I want to get something on Everton Direct this Christmas or this holiday season, there's a link below there in the description. Trust me, it's there. It's down there. If you look in that region and some words, there'll be a link to Everton Direct. Just click on that, and that actually helps out Toffee Blues people. So we really appreciate it if you were to utilize that. If you're planning on getting it, why not just use that? That would be awesome. Next, I have my own thing, plugging my book. I'm so bad at plugging my book. but buy my book. But okay, yeah. So that was from The Critic, by the way, if you ever saw that show from the 90s with John Lovitz. Yeah. That's not normally how I sound. But yeah, this book, children's book. The idea came from a Toffee Blues episode. It's about a moose who runs and finds a joy in running and has friends that are polar bears. And yeah, it's not at all what you'd expect, is what I would say. So if it's third grade reading level, and you can read it to kids younger. So crazy. It's been like a virtual book tour. And like, so now I have like 12 Amazon reviews on the book now. It's crazy over the past week. It's pretty neat. So yeah, check out Randolph the Christmas Moose. You can buy it on Amazon and some other places too. So yeah, there's that. Lastly, check out the Toffee Blues on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and the Toffee Blues website. All things Everton there. Some really cool contributors on there. I know them. They're cool guys, and you probably would like them too. So I guess that's it. Jake, I think we're done now, man. Thanks so much for your time. It's good to meet you. And yeah, I got to get a copy of Les Miserables now. Thanks.
There you go. Enjoy it.
Got to jump on that. Yeah, very cool, man. Thanks for the recommendation. Take care of yourself. Everybody else out there, let's just love to get 3 points against Leeds. You know, all these newly promoted sides, they think they're the shit. It'd be great. It'd be great to just, yeah. So anyway, much love to everybody. Take care. Bye.